Greetings, friend. I will show you how to solve this AI-assisted Sudoku and what obscure strategy you need to solve the green cell. Click below if you want to give this puzzle a go. And with that, it's solving time. Okay, the key to this puzzle is figuring out what this cell can be. And if you can't tell, Yoshi Baroshi came up with the name by putting it into an artificial intelligence and said, hey, give me a name for a Sudoku puzzle. That's what it is. I would love to hear your interpretation of the phonetics. Please put it in the comments. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. All right. What we want to do is start off with some Snyder notation. So we're going to look here where the ones can be in rows 1 and 2. So if you look in block 2, there's only 2 possibilities for a 1. So Snyder notation, anytime a 3x3 block, you have 2 possibilities for a candidate. You'll mark it. In case we solve one cell, we'll solve the other one right away. And this is a good start, especially if you're not really sure where some solves can be. Hopefully you can get something with some cross-hatching, get some easy, naked, and hidden singles. 2 possibilities for a 1 right there, and 2 possibilities for a 1 right here. Don't see any other spots where there's only 2 1s. Okay, the 2s, we got, this 2, 3 possibilities for 2 here. That's not going to help us. And with this 2 and this 2, you got 3 possibilities for 2 there. So really can't do much with the 2s, except if you come across here, you'll notice that the 2s are in 2 spots in block 5, and they're a pointing pair. Since they're in the block and they're also in the same row, a 2 cannot be anywhere else along row 5. It obviously can't be here. Can't be here because of this cell. Can't be here because of this 2, but now a 2 cannot be here anymore, because if you put a 2 here, you'd have no place for a 2 in block 5. All right, and there's no other spots I can do with the 2s. Look at the 3s, and you'll notice with these 2 3s and this 3 in row 2, there's only one possibility for a 3, and so we can actually make that mark. All right, and we got these 2 possibilities for a 3 here in block 1, and then if I look around the rest of the puzzle, you got 2 possibilities for a 3 here. Notice these are not pointing pairs because they're not in the same row or column. They're just in the same block. Okay, and let's move on to the 4s. The 4s are interesting because they're all in the middle here, but there's not enough restriction from those 4s to cause or help us with any of these solves here. All right, one other thing with the 2s I kind of forgot. You got these 2s as a pointing pair, which leaves 2 possibilities for 2 right there. Let's move on to the 5s. Looks like we can solve for 5. A lot of symmetry here. You notice how the 3 was here, here, and here. Well, the 5s here, there, and there. They kind of like if you flipped it around, you'll notice that the 5 is kind of like catty corner from where the 3 could be. Very interesting how Yoshi set this up. And with these 2 5s, we have 2 possibilities for a 5 right there. And if you look over here, sure enough, with this 5 coming up, and this 5 cutting across, 2 possibilities for a 5. So very similar in the Snyder marks of the 3s and the 5s in those corners. All right, looking at the 6s, you have this 6 right there. That 6, 3 possibilities for a 6, so we're not going to mark that spot. But with this 6 coming down and this 6 cutting across, 2 possibilities for a 6 here. And we'll make it a pointing pair as well. And so now the 6s are limited to these 2 spots. So similar to how the 2s worked out there. Don't see anything else for the 6s. Let's move on to the 7s. These 2 7s means 2 possibilities for 7. Up here, not quite getting to the spot where we're going to get some solves to work on the green cell, but we are going to get there. These 2 7s, 2 possibilities for 7 here. We're gaining a bunch of information by adding in these marks. And then 2 possibilities for a 7 here. The 7s kind of act a lot like how the 1s acted. And then with the 8s, what you'll notice here is this 8 cutting across row 6. So the 8's got to be on one of these spots, which limits the 8s to these 2 places right here. And this is interesting. Whenever you see Snyder notation for 2 cants in the same 2 cells, that means those cants are limited to those 2 cells. And since it's the same 2 candidates, this is called a hidden pair. And no other candidate can be in those cells, because if you put something else there, you wouldn't have enough room in block 4, or row 5 for the 6 and the 8. And so that's kind of neat how that works. And the way we saw is with the 6, the pointing pair of 6, same thing with the 8. And I'm not marking the 8s because there's 3 there. Snyder is best when we only have 2 possibilities. But I do have that hidden pair. And you'll notice now, this 2 and 9, we could have done the same thing over here. The 2 and the 9 are now considered a naked pair since we fill out the 6 and 8. But you could have seen them also as a hidden pair as well. Love how Yoshi did that here. All right, and that's going to give us some more restrictions. And let's move on. If there's anything else we can do with the 8s, as far as Snyder notation goes, yep, 2 possibilities for an 8 right there. And that's all I can do with the 8s. If you look at the 9s, this 9 cutting across, there's 3 9s, I'm not putting that. You got these 2 9s here. And then with this 9 and this 9, 2 possibilities for 9 here. So then 8s and 9s are kind of symmetrical as well. And so if you keep on going, you're not going to get any other solves that easily, right? So again, we still want to figure out what this green cell is, what the key strategy is. That's a little obscure. We don't see much, but what we can look at and what you got to find is actually across row 1 and then again in row 9. So let's start at row 1. We have a 1, 2, 3, and a 6. We're missing a 4, 5, 7, 8, 9. Well, you'll notice that a 7 and 8 are right here. So that means this can only be a 4, 5, or 9. And with this 5, you can get rid of the 5 right there. And then with the 7 and 8 in column 9, and it can't be there, that can only be a 4, 5, or 9. And so what we just did, if you look at these 3 cells, you'll notice that those 3 cells can only be a 4, 5, or 9. That is a naked triple. And it means that those candidates are limited to those 3 cells, and they can't be anywhere else along row 1. I love this. I love how beautiful this is. It can be hard to spot these, so you have to kind of start looking and adding candidates in order to see it. And what it leaves for us is a 7, 8 naked pair. The only 2 candidates remaining up there are a 7 or an 8. Okay, now let's look down here in row 9. And we're going to do this a different. We're going to look for a hidden pair. You notice the 1 and 9 can't be in these 2 spots, right? And the 1 and 9 can't be in this spot. So where can a 1 and 9 be here in row 9? It can only be in these 2 cells. We'll get rid of the colors up there so I don't lose you. And so it's just the 1 and 9 can only be in these 2 cells. That makes them a hidden pair, just like this 6, 8 was a hidden pair. And no other candidates can be in those 2 cells now. And so what it leaves us with is a 3, 4, and an 8. And this is going to be a 3, 4, 8. This will not have a 3, and that's a 3, 4, 8. And you could tell Yoshi did not use AI to set this puzzle. It is way too beautiful for artificial intelligence to help with it. And you're not going to see this neat kind of repeats and symmetry with the hidden pairs, with the naked triples like we just saw here. Yoshi Baroshi started setting puzzles during lockdown, and he actually found that computer puzzles were just getting boring. So that's why he started setting them himself. He studied a lot of Japanese puzzles to improve his solve path, and eventually got featured on Unshackling and Sudokus and Puzzles First for one of his classics. But I'll tell you, I love his puzzles so much that I've featured him probably as much or more than any other setter on my channel as well. Now let's remove these marks and see what we can do for this green cell. We know it can only be a 3 or a 4 because we can't have a 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. The 8s are part of this hidden pair, or a 9. Now we have to figure out, is it going to be a 3 or is this going to be a 4? Let's look at the candidates. And what I suggest next is when you don't get any more solves with Snyder notation, with cross-hatching, you want to look at single candidate strategies. The other option would be to focus on bi-value cells. But let's look at the single candidate strategies. Where can a 3 be in this puzzle right now? It can be in these spots. It can be here. It can be here. It can be there. It can be here and here. It can be here and there. And it looks like we got all of 3s. So let's mark those in blue. And what we notice here is obviously the green cell can contain a 3, so it's going to be blue as well. Let's focus on column 9. You'll notice these two cells in column 9, there's only two possibilities for a 3. That makes them a conjugate pair. Either this is a 3, if that's not a 3, this has to be a 3. And in column 2, if these were the only two cells in column 2 that could be a 3, then what you'd have is a 3 would be there and there, or there and there, and that would be a Sudoku X-wing. However, we have this extra cell right there, right? We have this extra cell that's within the same block as one of our orange candidates in the same column. And so this extra cell acts like a fin. It's like hanging on to this cell right here. And what's curious about this is if this was a 3, then we know this cell, the green cell, cannot be a 3, right? If this cell wasn't a 3, if I remove the 3 from here, then what you would end up with is what I just talked about, a Sudoku X-wing. And since 3s would have to be here and here, or here and here, you'd eliminate all the other 3s across row 4 and across row 7. So you'd eliminate a 3 from there as well. So no matter what this cell is, whether it is a 3 or not a 3, this cell can never be a 3. And an easier way to look at it, if you want to look at it a different way, is if you put a 3 right here, you'd eliminate the possibility for a 3 in these cells right there. And so then the only place for a 3 in column 2 would be right here. But then you'd eliminate the 3 from right there, and there'd be no place to put a 3 in column 9. We can't have that. All right, let's get these colors back and remove our 3. And what we know is this setup where you have this purple fin hanging on to an X-wing is called a finned X-wing. And that's what you need to find in order to do some solving here, because you now can eliminate 3 from this cell and solve it for a 4. You can learn more about finned X-wings by checking out my tutorial. All right, we gotta solve this cell for a 4. So we have figured out what the green cell is. I'm gonna remove that mark, and we're gonna see what can that do for our solving, because we're not done yet. We've just got the green cell down. We've got plenty more cells to figure out. Okay, since we got a 4 right here, this now has to be a 9. Okay, with these two 9s, we can remove the Snyder 9 from here and actually solve this cell for a 1, and then that's going to be a 9 as well. And then we got a 9 right here, and we are able to make some good solves. We'll get rid of that Snyder mark for that. Okay, after doing that 9, what you want to look at is we can actually go just right across row 8 here. Let's see what we can do about row 8. You got a 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all the odds. We need a 2, 4, 6, and 8. Well, I got a 2, 4 here and a 6 right there. So we know we can solve this for an 8. We can solve that for a 6 because it can't be the 2 or 4. We have a 2 right here, so we can solve this for the 2, solve that for the 4. And now this 4 allows us to solve this cell for an 8, solve this for a 3, and we can solve this cell for a 4. So we just took care of all of row 9. We just took care of all of row 8. This is really smooth. I love how Yoshi did that. Yoshi made my first rewards puzzle pack. You can purchase it on my Buy Me a Coffee page, or better yet, download it for free by joining the Smarty Party. Click on the pinned comment if you like to solve puzzle packs. After doing all of this solving, now we can look up, this 2 is going to allow us to solve for the 9 here and the 2 right there. We're disambiguating those by value cells. And now this 9 means that this cell can no longer be a 9, and it can no longer be a 9 right there. We actually have the 9 in there as well. And we can do some more solving here. What we're looking for in these two cells would be a 6 or a 5. Well, I got my 6 right here, so here's your 5, and here's your 6. After solving that 6, let's work up column 9 here. We're missing a 3, 4, and a 5. Well, I have a 3 right here, takes out these two cells, so that's got to be your 3. This 4, that means that's got to be your 5, and that's got to be your 4, which allows us to disambiguate the 5, 4, and solve that for a 5. We'll remove that Snyder mark, and now we know with this 5 and this 5, we can solve for a 5 right here, because that nice hidden pair doesn't allow any more 5s there. And with these two 5s, we can solve for a 5 here, displacing that Snyder 1. I love being able to gobble up all these marks that we made earlier in the solving. Okay, and after putting this 1 here, we have two possibilities. One's an 8 and 1's a 6. Well, I got an 8 right there. This has to be your 8. That's your 6, which allows us now to disambiguate the 7, 8 naked pair up in row 1. Okay, looking good. And now with these two 8s and this 8, we can solve for an 8 in block 5. Okay, what else can we do? Well, we only have one possibility left in block 3. That's a full house, and so we know we can solve that with certainty for a 9. Okay, after solving that 9, we can solve and finish up block 6 now here with a 4. So we can solve that for 4 as well, making great progress. Let's move on to a different part of the puzzle. Actually, we can focus here on row 2, because this 6 means the 6 can't be in these spots. This 6 can't be here. This actually has to be a 6. And now we're looking for a 2, 4, and a 9. Well, because of this 4, the only place for us for 4 in row 2 is right here. With this 2, means this has to be your 2, and that has to be your 9, which leaves us now with just a 1 and a 7. I'll mark that, but I bet we can solve that pretty quickly. Over here, we're looking for a 2 or a 3. I got my 2 in column 3, so that's got to be your 2, and that's got to be your 3. And now with this 3 and this 3, we can solve for 3 here, displacing that Snyder 7. Looking great as we keep moving on with this puzzle. And now with this 6, we know this cell can't be a 6. With this 6, this can't be a 6. This has to be your 8. That's got to be your 6, leaving us with a full house. You know, that's going to be your 3. And what are we looking for here? A 2. We already used this 2 before. We'll use it again. We have the 2 there and the 8 right there. We look across here. What are we looking for? A 1 or a 2. Don't have that solved just yet. Let's do one a little bit better. What do we need across here? It looks like we need a 6, 7, or a 9. All right, I got these two 6s, means this has to be your 6, displacing that Snyder mark. And then with the 9 means this has to be the 7, and that's got to be the 9. All right, this 7 means this cell's got to be the 7 now, which allows us to solve this cell for a 1. This 7 is going to allow us to disambiguate up here because we got the 1 and the 7 right there. And with the 2 right here, we know this cell's got to be your 2, and the last digit is a 1. See how cracking the cryptic handle naked triples in this video. Thank you so much, Yoshi Baroshi, for being my Friday featured setter for December, and thank you so much for watching.